I have a rendezvous with death at some disputed barricade, when spring comes round with rustling shade, and apple blossoms fill the air. I have a rendezvous with death. When spring brings back blue days and fair, it may be he shall take my hand, and lead me into his dark land. And close my eyes and quench my breath, it may be I shall pass him still. I have a rendezvous with death, on some scarred slope of battered hill. When spring comes round again this year, and the first meadow's flowers appear, God knows 'twere better to be deep, pillowed in silk and scented down, where love throbs out in blissful sleep, pulse nigh to pulse and breath to breath, where hushed awakens our dear. But I've a rendezvous with death, at midnight in some flaming town, when spring trips north again this year, and I too my pledged word am true. I shall not fail that rendezvous. That was a Rendezvous with Death by Alan Seeger, and I am your host, not Tara, for Sunflower Sutras. Wink. I did it.
He winked, and then he said wink. No more perfect introduction. That is Alex. You might recognize him. He's been on the program before. Today is going to be a special Nanowrimo episode, and because I have zero experience in Nanowrimo, pretension and such, I'm having two people who've actually participated in it talk about it with me, to teach me, or just to validate what I already think. So obviously, Alex will be participating in our discussion, and with us, again, might as well accept him as our secondary host at this point, Ryan, the editor-in-chief.
Hello. I don't know if the in-chief part is necessary, considering I'm the only person who edits the show.
That makes you the most chiefly.
It also makes him everything in between.
Stop that. Nanowrimo.
Yes. National Novel Writing Month. That's what the acronym stands for, in case anyone was wondering.
Now, both of you have told me in the past about your experiences with NaNoWriMo, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, you started writing your notorious Running Out of Time series as a NaNoWriMo challenge, right?
That's technically correct. I mean, I actually wrote it as 4 pages for a college writing assignment. But then I took all of that and wrote it for National Novel Writing Month, and I did get to 50,000 words. And then I published that same 50,000 words that I didn't edit.
And you did all of that in a month?
30 days!
Oh my god.
Remember, the other time that I was here, I wrote 6 books in 7 months.
And none of that with any drug at all. Now, Ryan, what about you?
So I've participated in NaNoWriMo 4 times. Between the years 2013 and 2016. I actually found out about it because of a writing group based in the Topeka Library. I've never won it, but that's not really the point, so...
What do you mean by win it?
So the actual challenge is to write 50,000 words in 1 month.
50,000?
Yes. And so... the idea is you quote-unquote win if you actually get the 50,000. Honestly, winning, though, isn't really the point. It's more about just trying to push yourself to actually finish something. If you write more than you would have, you won, really.
Okay. So, an esteem positivity kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's more about, at least for me and the community that I actually did this with, it's really more about encouraging writers to basically achieve levels of productivity that they wouldn't have on their own without that environment, without that encouragement.
Now here we have an interesting situation because we have one person who achieved what he sought out for, Alex, who's currently roboting. And then we have a person who didn't necessarily achieve the set goal. So I have a question for both of you. We'll start with Ryan first. You didn't get to the set number, but did you still value your time?
Oh, absolutely. I got a lot done each year that I did it, more than I would ever get any other month. I think the record actually was in 2016, the last one I did, where I actually managed to get 36,000. I think that was the best that I ever did. And also just, meeting cool people, being around other writers is just nice. I enjoy that environment.
Is it normally a communal effort, or is it just kind of depends what's available for every different person?
I mean, it's very much a communal thing to me. I imagine there are a lot of people that try to do it more solitary. I don't think that would be as valuable, at least not for me personally. It wouldn't be. So I think it more depends on who you are. Where I live, I'm fortunate enough to have a pretty cool group of people.
And the work that you were working on, the piece that you were working on, that you were able to get that much words done, is that your big piece that you're still working on now?
That was going to say yes.
Yes. Okay, so, I don't know. I've always just been kind of rubbed the wrong way, and it was always made to sound like it was supposed to be a finish a novel in a month type thing. But then I see someone like you where it's like, hey, I got a good push for it, and now I work on it continuously, and I'm happy with what I have of it.
Yeah, I ended up deciding that I don't really want to make it a novel, but that's fine. I still got the words.
And then we have a person like Alex.
Hi.
Now, how many words did you end up actually writing?
53,400 the first time.
How?
Well, it's actually really cool. So the website for Nanowrimo creates like an algorithm for like, hey, I want to write 70,000 words. And it's like, well, to achieve that, you'll have to write 2,280 words a day. And then you input the numbers that you write every like day, and then it will show you your progress and predict when you will finish based on your current pace. So what's cool about that is it really shows you just how easy it is to get from point A to point B, point A being no novel and point B being a novel. And I think that's really one of the cool parts, is that it's more about like, hey, if you just write 1,600 words every day for 30 days, you finished an entire book. You finished a work. And it's not that much.
We say that.
But it really isn't.
I mean, how do you... I guess this kind of goes back to our previous episode that we had together. How do you actually achieve writing as much as you do?
The brain doesn't stop moving. No, but I don't think of it as being complex. You write this much, you have a pretty good idea what you're striving for, so you have kind of a narrow idea of where you're going to go, and you just let that happen until you get there.
Can I jump off of that?
Sure, you're the host.
So it puts you in a mindset,
Yeah.
and it's got this helpful kind of reinforcement thing going on the website. What do both of you do when you participate in a NaNoWriMo challenge? Like, where are you when you're writing all these words? Do you isolate? Is it talking to someone? Like, are you sitting down for hours on end just typing up? Like, how does it look for you actually trying to write that much every day?
Ryan?
Honestly, I get most of it done at home, but like I said, usually when I do it with a group. And so the organizers for the Topeka Rhymos actually organize like write-ins, usually at the library or at a cafe. And so if I'm not working or busy or whatever, I'll usually go to those as well. And that's generally where I'm most productive.
A lot of times it comes down to write wherever I can, just because I have a job with weird hours, and I've always had a job with weird hours. But what's really nice is that like using like Twitter or Facebook, I can contact other writers, and you just kind of compare like what they're doing to what I'm doing, and you can get really invested in a story that's being written like 1,600 words at a time, and you can help them because you already have kind of an idea where it's going. So for me, it's kind of more of a community thing, like it was for Ryan. It's about like, hey, this is what's happening and running out of time right now. And they're like, oh, well, it'd be really cool if X happened. And it's like, oh, you know what? That really is a good idea for the future. I'll keep that in mind because that's a good X amount of words that I can use. Or, they might be like, oh, and this is happening with Jake in my story. And it's like, oh, well, this might help. And they're like, oh, cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just getting to talk to other people about their works in progress is just cool.
Yeah.
I never stopped to think about just the, like, existence of... There's always writers supporting writers, obviously, but, like, how often are people working on projects at the exact same time with each other to be like, hey, how much progress have you made today? I made this, what did you make? I never stopped to think about that aspect of it, but this is where our experiences are incredibly different. You two obviously have two sides of the same coin kind of going on with NaNoWriMo, and then there's me over in the corner, a scrunched up piece of paper pretending to be a coin. I remember my first year of college. I'd never in my life heard of NaNoWriMo. And I also was working on my first, and at this point only, book. Like actual full-length fiction book. So I was curious about it. And I was very hopeful about it. And the more I got into NaNoWriMo things, the more I felt like I can kind of coincide what I'm doing with this, because all these people around me are doing it too. And it might just be not being as well integrated. It might just be being a more isolated writer or student or whatever it possibly could have been for me in my individual case. But everything I always saw was a numbers game. It was never a actual progress chat. It was always a, how much words are you up to today? And I felt really bad every single time I actually tried to edit my work, which I guess maybe you're not supposed to necessarily edit it through. They're both...
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not even at all.
See, no one told me that.
Editing is for later, after you have a complete first draft.
For reference, I started college when I was 17. So, by the time NaNoWriMo came, I was 18. So I was a baby. So there's that. Yeah, no one told me about don't edit or don't worry about editing, because I'm here with the story, like, thinking, oh, if I don't have a full-length actual novel by the end of the month, I'm a failure.
No. NaNoWriMo is about getting a first draft effectively.
A whole idea on paper.
Yeah, the whole thing, that's actually a lot of why it's been useful for me, and, you know, being around other people, is that it actually kind of helps me actually get words onto paper as someone who agonizes over every word and every sentence that I put down. It's encouragement, and it kind of like helps me sort of like break past that and just write and just let it flow out, however raw and weird or unpolished it might be, or even just straight up bad.
It's true. One of the great things is that writing running out of time, it was like, because of the word count I have to achieve and the pressure that's coming from that, some wackier things can happen. Because it's like, I'm just trying to finish a draft. It's not even really about necessarily having a publishable work even in the future. It's about, hey, you finished a thing and it took 30 days. See what you can achieve in just 30 days. Kind of like that before and after picture. It's like, flabby guy, bad lighting. Jacked guy, better lighting. It's always the lighting.
I was just about to say this sounds like an exercise regime.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's like, hey, just use your brain every day and keep going. Just keep going. Stop looking back so much.
It's actually a really good way of putting it. I don't think I've ever actually heard someone describe it as like an exercise regime for writing, but yeah, that's effectively what it is.
Like a short-term training for a big thing, kind of.
Yeah.
As opposed to just like lifelong training for the Olympics.
Yeah.
But it's like a baby step to get you in that mindset.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if you write 50,000 words of trash, let's say, you still have 50,000 words of ideas you have on paper and an accomplishment at the end. You can still pull from that things that matter.
See, I was never met with a preface of, hey, this is trash friendly. Hey, this is failure friendly. Everything that was explained to me was you're gonna have a novel. You're gonna have your novel at the end of this month. And if you don't write every day, you're a failure.
I don't know who described Nano to you, but they didn't do a very good job.
There's a local coffee shop, and there were some people that would frequent it. I won't name names, but there was a certain crowd there that a young me pretended to be a part of, and maybe those were the people that misled a child and broke their dreams. Maybe it was just the wrong communal support, but like,
I mean, I'm sure there are people who can write an entire polished work in 30 days. I don't know if I'd ever want to meet Stephen King, but he does exist.
I guess that's just the kind of different communal support stuff. I got quote-unquote communal support from a bunch of people basically showing off, like, their number game as opposed to having confidence in themselves and, like, supporting each other as writers. And it sounds like that's what you, Ryan, had with your group at the library, and that sounds like what you, Alex, had with, like, your conversing with writers on social media.
Yep.
In my previous experience, NaNoWriMo was a spectacle of going to a coffee shop with your fancy laptop and being, like, seen as you're writing. Whereas, like, after talking with you two, it's, like, not the case at all. It makes me feel a lot better because I have so many friends that participate every year, or every other year when, you know, time and life allows. But as a kid, my perception was just, this is some hoity-toity BS, really. And I wasn't super stoked about it.
I mean, it can definitely be that. People flexing their word count is a real thing. Sometimes people on the first day will tweet like, I got 12,000 words on the first day. And, you know, maybe they did. But, you know, it is an amount of flexing.
Do you guys actually write every day when you participate?
Usually.
Yeah.
At least close to.
Even if it's like 10 words.
I mean, yeah, sometimes it's a sentence, but...
Gotta get some words down.
See, that's what you guys are getting at. It's just a perpetual inertia. The goal is not the end result. It's the friends we made along the way, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes even just getting a few words down every day can be a lot. It adds up. I mean, Neil Gaiman wrote Coraline. He did like 100 words every night for a couple of years.
Writing is already such a you against you kind of field. It's, you say I was being dramatic earlier. Now here's my actual dramatic thing. Being a writer is a curse because you are just so in hate with yourself constantly. Whether because you're not being productive enough or because you don't like what you're making. It's like, hey, I'm not making anything. You should be making something. Hey, look at what I made. This is garbage.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the actual idea of NaNoWriMo is to be like, hey, put down that knife. Pick up this pen.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's also kind of a habit training thing.
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah.
Is it like after 2 weeks of doing something is supposed to become a habit?
I thought it was like 20 days. Is it 20 days?
I'm not exactly sure.
One of
but
those science
it's close.
things. It's
Something
one of
around
those
there.
hard science things. Like
Yeah.
after 10,000 hours of doing something, you're a master of it.
But it was 1,000.
No, it's 10,000. I remember that from a My Little Pony analysis video.
Well, I'm a master at looking at my phone and driving.
Oh, please don't tell me at the same time.
Yeah, no, not at the same time.
Yeah, kids, not at the same time. Don't
cut
do
this
it.
part, but leave this part where I say cut that part in.
Oh, God.
Just cut that part in.
Cut that part in, yes.
Hey, kids at home, there's the real secret to finishing NaNoWriMo. Do it while you're...
Texting and driving.
Oh, God. No,
Don't be ridiculous. I tweet and dread.
No comment. I plead the fifth. I don't know what the crime is, but I plead it.
Okay, so then... Do you have horror stories, then? Because I shared my dirt. Share yours.
Ooh, I've got one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did go to that write-in, and it may not have been your group, but when I was writing the second time for contractual obligations...
Real quick.
Sure.
I am a baby?
Uh-huh.
What's a write-in?
Basically, you all just hang out and write in the same place.
Okay.
Yep.
And maybe there might be a writing sprint, which is like, 15 minutes, write as much as you can.
I'd never heard about that. Okay.
Or maybe there's a prompt. Sometimes writing sprints have prompts, too. Like, try to incorporate a cactus for some reason.
Try to put this word in.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, integrate this. Use your ability to write to integrate this idea.
Okay. That's cool.
Well, I was handwriting everything, and some lady was like, oh, you're handwriting, so you have to hand count your words. Ugh. It's like... Thanks. Appreciate that.
Okay.
And she was 1,000.
Oh,
If it was
woman?
the group that I'm a part of, I can think of a couple people that might have said that as a joke.
This was no joke.
Okay.
An
It probably was a
older
different group
woman
then.
Yes.
trying to diss you on your tech.
Yes, on handwriting a manuscript, she's over here like, wow, you can't afford the new Nike laptop.
Okay, as a person who can't afford the new Nike laptop, I just want to say that on my totally not pirated word processor software that I have, that's totally not pirated, it counts commas as words.
Nice.
So...
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it counts commas as words, not it counts semicolons, but not colons. And not periods.
Okay.
But I think question marks, but not exclamation points.
Quick aside, I guess that makes sense because you could put a comma where you would put like, and.
True.
Laundry detergent, comma, soap, comma, sheets, comma, and.
So I just want to say, I'm going to have myself one of those really long run-on sentence, Victorian style, comma, 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 Oxford, comma, comma, comma.
Chameleon.
Thank you. And just blow everyone out, just like hand them a paragraph and be like, 2,000 words.
You're still not getting the point, I don't think.
Of course I'm not getting the point. So that was your horror story?
I mean, I usually see, like, a competitive spirit in it, and I do know people that will, like... But it's never, like, at the expense of people. Like, people will actually...
It's playful.
Give their tips. Yeah, it's playful. And people actually, like, give their tips on how to, like, boost their word count. Like, for example, not hyphenating anything, regardless of whether or not it should or shouldn't be hyphenated.
Oh, that's silly.
Or, hey, maybe there should be some dialogue or some description. You ever tried dialogue and description?
I know some people that don't use contractions. Everything is not.
Is not. They'll still do can't, though. You can't get a point for cannot. You can't get 2 points for that.
Points.
And you can put a space between can and not.
Arguably...
No one said they had to be real words.
That's true.
Arguably, one snooty blue hair isn't that bad.
I didn't say it was.
No. That's what I'm saying. Ryan, do you have something worse? Or have your experiences just been good?
No, mine have been pretty positive so far. I haven't really met anyone that was just really a jerk about it.
Just don't go to coffee shops, I guess.
That's a tip for every writer. Just that sentence.
You know what? Go to coffee shops, but don't go to coffee shops without headphones. Don't listen to people at coffee shops is what I guess I'm saying, because I never do. I always have headphones. And if I had to listen to the same things that I listened to when I was 18 and I didn't have headphones because I was trying to eavesdrop on people to learn... Oh my god. Nowadays, I think I would just, like, get up and be, like, in their face, oh my god, you're so pretentious.
I mean, writing's kind of like that in general. You have, like, a group of people who are supportive and like, oh, great, Ryan finished another 100 words after 500 years. No offense, Ryan, I love you. And then you have the same people who are like, I write literary fiction, and I've only written 2 books since I was 16, and I am now 75. And they're like, and I have a prize that I won at a local art fair for my poetry. And you're like, okay, why are you telling me not to title chapters, though? Like, it's just a fun thing.
You know, I never knew it was supposed to actually be fun, again, going off of my experiences from the one Nanowrimo I actually tried to participate in, but everyone was so serious. The little group that I, like, barnacled myself to, they were trying to do, like, a kind of running theme of all of them. It was like some kind of psycho-noir thing.
Huh.
Oof.
Okay.
That's quite the challenge.
Yeah, and they were all just like, but I'm going to subvert expectations because my femme fatale, blah, 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 blah. And just, you know,
I mean, NaNoWriMo
garbage.
NaNoWriMo is a challenge. It is a challenge to yourself. And because of that, it can be stressful at times, but it should also be fun at times.
I was never told
it should be a fun challenge.
I was never told it could be fun.
It is fun. Read Running Out of Time some more. It's fun. I wrote that in 27 days.
That's part of my problem when I was reading Running Out of Time. I'm just like, God, this is just so different from everything I've read. I come from a world of black and white. I come from the USSR, and he's over here like, hey, Skittles.
Again, 27 days. It's supposed to be fun. And
20, you said 30, now you're saying 27.
No,
Next year you'll say 21.
No. No, it's supposed to take 30 days. It took 27.
Ooh.
You finished early.
Ooh.
Yee.
What'd you do for the rest of the 3 days? Just sleep?
Considered writing a sequel.
In 3 days?
Yeah.
I actually took a college class where we did NaNoWriMo. Alex actually dropped in a few times. Could have participated with us because he knows the professor and he knows me. But whole class doing it. And so they actually had an excuse for it because, one of the classes that they had was doing this. And we actually dedicated class time to it. And even with that, even having 2 class periods a week dedicated to doing this, only 2 people in the class actually got 50,000 words. So
I don't know if the particular year I also got into NaNoWriMo was also just a very fluke year where everyone was just so number heavy, but that's what I recall.
They actually do NaNoWriMo 2 times a year in July and November.
Wait, wouldn't it be JumoWriMo?
No. NaNoWriMo is once a year, and that's in November.
Yeah, but then
they have Camp NaNoWriMo in April and June.
What
it's
the
June.
actual... Okay.
Because one wasn't enough.
They do Camp Nano twice.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
So 3 times.
3 is a sacred number.
You could do it 6 times, though. Do it every month for a year.
Just because you are a holy child doesn't mean the rest of us can catch up.
Oh, you got through half the year.
You got through half of the year.
Okay.
You made a book for that many months.
Okay, that 4th month, I wrote a thing that I don't think will see the light of day. That's how bad it is. We'll just take that, like some NaNoWriMo projects, which is fine, and we'll just put it over here.
But when you die...
Oh, there's some of the nano projects I did are never going to be a thing.
No. But when you die, and people are scrounging through your underwear...
Burn it.
Okay, Kafka told his friends...
Humanity.
Oh, humanity.
Kafka told his friends to burn all of his stuff.
I'm not going to tell anyone to burn anything. I will burn it.
Then get on it, boy. I'll go to your house right now.
I'm not giving anyone my Google passwords.
A hacker will just find the code and be like...
No one is that dedicated.
The famous Alex
Humanity was a zombie
Houndshaw.
story, right? Yeah.
The one about the sniper
Wait,
who
hold on
turns
a
into a
second.
half zombie.
Hold on a second. Your Never See the Light of Day is a zombie story. Your Never See the Light of Day is kind of a zombie story, but mostly a ghost story.
It's a ghost story. It has nothing to do with zombies.
What's yours about?
That is a complicated question.
Cynicism, from what you've told me.
Yeah, just hard nihilism. It was a weird time in my life that I wrote that. But yeah, it's about a ghost, and the idea is that when people die, their spirits linger on Earth, but there's no actual afterlife. So they're just stuck, wandering around until eventually their psyches just fracture into complete madness, and they basically cease to exist.
That's fun.
Yep.
What's yours?
A lady gets bit by a zombie and then also falls to her death, so she doesn't transform completely into a zombie on either side of the spectrum, so she's left with some of her ability to be a person, so she becomes a sniper, but then she slowly devolves and starts falling apart and dying. It's fun.
2 things.
Yes.
I assure you that when you die, people will dig through your trash like they have dug through Mark Twain's trash. And number 2... I'm glad that I just had a shitty experience and that it's not actually like this. What I recall was just on social media, a lot of newfound writer friends that I had, everyone was just so number crunchy. Every day, there was one person that actually had a ticker at the bottom of every status update they had, even if it wasn't a status update related to NaNoWriMo. Just took the kids to the zoo today, and then at the very bottom would be 2,800 out of 30,000, day 3. It would be stuff like that, and it just kind of, especially for a very anxiety-ridden college student, was just constant oh yeah, this is very comparable to being reminded every day I'm gonna die.
I think the biggest piece of advice that I would have given you if I had seen you in the past, right?
Yeah.
Is that NaNoWriMo's not really designed for something that you actually want to create as a full-fledged idea. Not really. If there's something you really love and really want to put your soul into, I wouldn't suggest actually creating it during NaNoWriMo. I might suggest creating a proto version of it, so there's stuff to pull from for the actual version.
I've definitely done that.
Yeah, but I wouldn't suggest actually trying to write something you want to, like, care a lot about.
Yeah, no, that was my flaw. I tried to tack on a passion project to the challenge and then was constantly like, I have to protect my baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 2 of the years that I did Nano were just, I had an idea and I wanted to see if I was actually interested in writing it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Like doing that. Like, you're like, it would be kind of cool if polar bears were, political leaders. Like, I guess I'll write that. I'll see where that goes. And just see what you can get out of that idea. So you kind of get this exercise in something that not necessarily you don't care about, but you care about a little bit less than a passion project.
Okay.
And so you can pull from that new ideas, better ideas.
It really is exercising your writing muscle.
Yes.
Yes.
So, with all of that said then, Ryan, are you going to participate in NaNoWriMo this year? It's okay to be honest.
I've actually been thinking about it, and I probably will. Probably drop in at some write-ins, at least. Say hi. Because I haven't seen those people in a couple of years now.
Alex, are you going to participate in NaNoWriMo this year?
Probably not. I'm in the middle of a passion project, so it wouldn't really make any sense.
I'm drawing the doodle of the cover for his passion project, so...
I wouldn't call running out of time 4 years after the first one was finished, my passion project.
Oh. Well, then I guess I don't have an excuse then.
Sorry, but in my car outside is Guantanamo Bay, and that is my passion project.
So far,
I do like it,
2/3 of the running out of time books have been NaNoWriMo books.
True.
Fair enough. And we will end now without anyone asking me if I'm going to participate, because I don't want to answer that.
Oh, look, a distraction. Are you going to participate?
That's a tough call.
Terminator love story. Terminator
love story. I don't know if I necessarily want to participate in NaNoWriMo because I've evolved as a writer since the first time I tried to tackle it.
Sure.
I'm not really a fiction writer. I like to tell stories and poetry, but I just don't really think that there's a poetry place in NaNoWriMo because poems are such finer crafted things than what NaNoWriMo is like easing people into doing.
Sure.
If I did, it would definitely have to be a silly putty project. It would definitely just be me, just not a thing I would pick up or do anything with. So I'm gonna give a nice, totally not cowardly maybe.
That's fair. Fair enough.
And because we have sufficiently talked everyone's ears off, there will be no listener submission for this episode. But fret not.
They will return.
They will return.
Look over there, a distraction.
This has been A.M. Houndshell, host of Sunflower Sutras, and Tara, who was the host, and Ryan, who is the second host. We love you. Wink.
I legitimately got, I looked both times, he said... Hey, look over there, a distraction. Let there be no pretense. This is not an academic podcast. This is not a serious podcast. I looked both times, and there's nothing in that corner. And I knew that. And I looked both times. Thank you all for listening.
Signing off.
If you enjoyed the show, you can support us by liking us on Facebook or donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/sunflowersutras. We'd like to give a special thanks to our patrons, poet Jen Harris, E. Campson, and Heather Aranda, for helping us keep this show running. If you or someone you know has some poetry that they would like to submit to the show, feel free to submit to us either via our Facebook, or you can submit the pieces directly to me at tara.bartley@yahoo.com. So long, gefol, and farewell.